we are going to go to our second game. If you also want to have your game analyzed, like, subscribe, submit me your game, and if I have time, I will absolutely analyze it and put it on my channel as well. So for this game, we are going to analyze a game from BetterAtConnectFour, and I guess it's against the computer of chess.com. I already promised him that I will analyze it, so I will. But for future reference, please guys, maybe games that you played against humans, they're a lot more fun to analyze and it makes a bit more sense. BetterConnectFour is around 1100, 1200 I believe, so we'll go over some basics here on how to punish a computer that plays at the level that the character Jade does on chess.com. So here we have e3, which is an okay move. I personally prefer to actually develop my bishop that's on c1 first outside of the pawn chain, but it's not wrong per se. h5 is a silly move, has no justification to be played. And white, which is the human player, plays bishop to d3. Knight back to g8, no sense, no reason to undevelop the knight. e4, good move, we take more space in the center. f6, bishop to e3, e5, and now it's actually important to realize that your pawn on d4 is perfectly fine defended, so white would be okay here to just continue development and let's say castle. The move played is d4 to d5, which is also an okay move, and now c6. Now in these type of positions, I actually love playing d6. And the reason for that is it's actually quite clear. You block the d7 pawn of black, and you create enormous problems in the black camp for the development. I mean, the bishop is blocked in. The rook is very long away from doing anything. The knight can, at this moment, develop, but it needs to go to a6. And yeah, really good luck in solving that problem. Also, the control over e7 is annoying, and it's not so easy to get rid of the d6 pawn here. Now, as black, you might want to create some space on the queen side, but the beauty of it is, thanks to our elite in development and spatial advantage that you have as white, we can just expand on the queen side as well and play a4 to counter that, or b4, depending on how it goes. So white has actually a beautiful position at this particular moment. Let's continue, because it didn't happen. Instead of that, we play c4 as white. Okay, you defend the pawn. Then we have b6, and yeah, now many moves can be played. b3 was played. It's really not good. b3 is. I'll explain why it's not good. It is not good because it absolutely does nothing for your position. So if you look at the difference between these two positions, you have moved your pawn, defending a pawn that doesn't need to be defended because it's not even attacked, and you again have done nothing. You have a lead in development and you have a spatial advantage. So what you want to do, you want to continue having the lead in development, or you want to increase it if you can. So what you can do here is castle is absolutely fine. Continue with your development. Knight c3 is absolutely an okay move as well, and all of those would be very useful. And b3 just is not. Okay, takes and takes, and now you can see the pawn on b3 did not really help us. If anything, it created a bit of a weakness on the queen side. Rook to h7 makes no sense. Castles, knight to a6, a3, knight to c5, kicking the knight, takes. Okay. Let's continue. Bishop f8. There will actually be some interesting moments that we can all learn from further down the line. b5, bishop to c5, knight to c, rook to f7. Also totally not logical move. And here, actually, a4 is played, but this is one of those moments that is actually quite illustrative where we can do something very useful. In this particular position, white has, I think, a quite nice move. Bishop takes c5 is very principled. You change the bishops. Black has no choice but to trade. And now we just, again, play d6. Black never solved the problem, so we still can. And after d6, there are many reasons, but the most straightforward one is that the c5 pawn is kind of isolated since it cannot be defended by the d6 pawn anymore. And because we have the spatial advantage and we can move our pieces around freely, the pawn will soon be a victim. Let's say bishop b7. Let's imagine black plays a logical move. Then we play rook f to c1. And the idea is, like I mentioned, straightforward. We want to play knight to a4 next, and we attack the pawn twice. There's actually no good way to defend that. So we have material. We can continue our attack on the queen side. We can even go over to the king side if we want and just totally kill black in this position. That did not happen. Instead, a4 was played, as I said, and the game continues with king f8. I'm not really going to comment on moves from computers that don't make sense. It's just because the weakness is set to a certain strength. Rook f to e1, d6, queen to d2, h4. That is a free pawn. You can freely gobble up that pawn, and then g6 is also attacked, so black needs to do something about that, or also lose that pawn and perhaps be in check even. However, white decided to give check instead. Yeah, not that good, because black does need to take. Black did not take, and now we move back our bishop, and we don't have a free pawn. Black takes our bishop, we recapture, and now h3. And after g3, this is actually a bit of a sad moment, because we had such a dominating position, and because of our neglect of really taking advantage of it, consider not developing when we could develop, not piling up on anything at all. We were not trying to break through on any side. We kind of just waiting. You know, the moves, the pawn moves in the beginning that we played were too slow. You have spatial advantage and you have latent development. You need to utilize it. You need either to build up an attack if you're done developing, and if you are not done developing, you can always continue to develop. So you either keep your lead or build onto that. Since we did not do that and we pushed some pawns around, although black did not really spawn properly, black now has some counterplay. We have weaknesses around our king. The light squares are not comfortable. Black does have the light squared bishop, which is no fun. The black pawn on h3 is annoying for us. And if black now would get his stuff together and launch an attack, it might be quite annoying. So let's continue. Rook to b8. Rook h c1, rook to a8. Makes, again, no sense. Knight to d1. Bishop to g4. Bishop to d2. Rook. Let me just go through a couple of moves here. Because after rook c7, queen e3, we now have f5. Okay. As I said, let me just continue. f3, rook to c2, knight to d2, queen f6, f4, and e takes f4. G takes f4, queen to h4, queen g3, and yeah, this is actually again a bit painful because boom, and black actually plays the proper move. Queen takes, and after h takes, this is kind of a problem. The pawn that we got offered for free and now walked all the way down on the h file is creating some issues, and it wants to go to h2. Perhaps the rook on the c file, or better said on the second rank, is not nice for white, so very nice for black. And if we then, as black, can also add our knight into play, it might become very, very annoying. White understands it needs to get rid of the pawn, but puts his own knight in a pin, and now we have knight takes e4. Double attack on the knight, which is pinned. We cannot defend it more, so it's lost at the very least. After king to h3, we have a fork. Oh, and after king, this should now be over. So technically, this is now won by black. However, it was not over. I'll put some few more moves on there, and we will have one more interesting moment later on. Yeah, moves are just quite bad. Black kind of refuses to win also. Let me just put some more moves there, and as you will see, yeah, black just wants to play bad, so it gives back the knight and some other material. And also here it makes no sense because we take the pawn, black decides to do nothing. And now this is a absolute blunder, and I don't think any human on the planet would play it unless they're trolling. Computer did play it. Just to show you, king takes g5 is actually still winning, and the y is still a bit interesting. Let's say white clearly wants to try to draw, right? And after king c6, we have king to f6, b6, king to e7, and now trying to keep the king out with king c7, but we have check, pushing the king back, and now our king can come closer, and there is no way for white to keep to push the pawn further, because after king moves, we for example play the rook here, and if now the pawn moves up, well, it doesn't. I don't know why, but somehow the engine went on. Then you just play king to c8, and after the check, we grab the pawn, and it's all over. So in the game itself, king c6 was played, and after a couple of moves, it was draw. So what we remember from the
insufficient material.
Yeah, well. So that were our games from today. If you want to have your game also analyzed, like I said before, please subscribe and put on the notifications. Also send me your game, and when I have time, I will make sure to analyze it and upload it in one of my next videos. For now, have great games, and hope to see you next time. Bye bye.